In 1949, George Orwell published a novel about a government that watched everything you did, controlled everything you said, and punished you for thinking the wrong thoughts. The book was called 1984. In 1932, Aldous Huxley published a novel about a society that did not need to watch you at all, because it had made you so entertained, so distracted, and so medicated that you would never think a dangerous thought in the first place. The book was called Brave New World. In 1953, Ray Bradbury published a novel about a world where books were illegal, not because the government banned them, but because the people stopped reading. They chose screens instead. The book was called Fahrenheit 451. 3 authors, 3 warnings, 3 entirely different visions of how civilization could destroy itself. And all 3 of them were right, just not in the way anyone expected. Orwell imagined a future run by force. Big Brother watches through telescreens in every room. The thought police arrest you for unapproved ideas. History is rewritten daily. Language itself is stripped down so that rebellion becomes literally unthinkable. This was not fiction to Orwell. He had watched it happen. He had fought in the Spanish Civil War and seen how totalitarian regimes manufactured reality. He watched Stalin rewrite Soviet history, erase photographs, and make inconvenient people disappear, not just from life, but from the record. 1984 was a warning. This is what happens when the state has total power and total surveillance. And in 2026, parts of it have come true. Government surveillance programs monitor billions of communications. Facial recognition tracks people across cities. Social credit systems in some countries restrict what you can buy, where you can travel, and who you can speak to, based on your behavior score. But Orwell missed something. He assumed the surveillance would come from above, from the government, imposed on the people. He did not predict that the people would build the surveillance themselves, that they would carry tracking devices voluntarily, that they would upload their location, their conversations, their photographs, and their thoughts, willingly, eagerly for free, to corporations that would sell every detail to the highest bidder. Orwell feared the state. He did not imagine that the threat would come from something the people loved. And there is an irony that Orwell would have appreciated. The very tools that were supposed to liberate us, the internet, social media, the free flow of information, became the infrastructure of surveillance. We were told these technologies would make us free. Instead, they made us transparent. Every search, every message, every pause on a photograph is recorded, analyzed, and sold. The telescreen is real. We just call it a smartphone and we check it 200 times a day. Huxley saw it coming. In Brave New World, there is no secret police. There are no arrests, there is no need for them. The population is kept docile through pleasure, through a drug called soma that eliminates anxiety, through endless entertainment that fills every waking moment, and through a social system that makes consumption the highest virtue. Nobody rebels in Huxley's world because nobody is unhappy enough to rebel. The chains are invisible because they feel good. Huxley understood something that Orwell did not. You do not need to oppress people if you can distract them. A population drowning in entertainment will never organize. A population medicated into comfort will never question. A population that defines freedom as the right to consume will never notice that real freedom, the freedom to think, to challenge, to be uncomfortable, has been taken away. In 2026, this is not a prediction. It is a description. The average person spends over 7 hours a day on screens. Social media platforms are engineered to be addictive, not accidentally, but by design, using the same reward mechanisms as slot machines. Streaming services offer unlimited content so that boredom, the state that drives curiosity, creativity, and change, becomes almost impossible. And the drugs are here too. Not soma, but their equivalents. Prescription medications for anxiety, depression, attention, and sleep that allow millions of people to function without ever addressing why they are struggling in the first place. Huxley did not predict the technology. He predicted the psychology. He understood that the most effective prison is one the inmates build for themselves and never want to leave. Bradbury's vision was the most disturbing of the 3, because it required no villain, In Fahrenheit 451, firemen do not put out fires. They start them. Their job is to burn books. But the crucial detail is why. The government did not decide to ban books. The people stopped reading them first. The ban came after. It was a formality. The firemen were burning something that nobody wanted anymore. Bradbury saw a world where people chose entertainment over knowledge, where they preferred wall-sized television screens to conversations, where they drove fast and thought little, where they surrounded themselves with noise because silence had become unbearable. He wrote the novel in 1953, the same decade that television entered most homes for the first time. He watched his neighbors stop talking to each other. He watched dinner conversations replaced by broadcasts, and he extrapolated. In 2026, book sales still exist, but deep reading is collapsing. The average attention span has shortened dramatically. Long-form thought, the kind that requires you to sit with an idea for hours, to follow an argument across hundreds of pages, to hold complexity in your mind, is being replaced by fragments, headlines, clips, 30-second videos, scrolling. Bradbury did not fear the government would burn the books. He feared something worse, that the books would survive and nobody would open them, that the knowledge would be there, free and available, and people would walk past it every day because a screen was easier. And there is a detail in Fahrenheit 451 that almost nobody talks about. The characters in the novel wear tiny earpieces called seashells, wireless devices that play music and chatter directly into their ears, all day, every day. They walk around in a private bubble of noise, disconnected from the people around them. Bradbury wrote that in 1953. He described AirPods 70 years before they existed. The answer is all three, but not equally. Orwell got the surveillance right, but wrong about who would build it. He imagined the state imposing it from above. Instead, we built it ourselves from below and handed the data to corporations. Bradbury got the culture right. We chose screens over books. We chose speed over depth. We chose entertainment over understanding. No fireman was needed. We abandoned the library voluntarily. But Huxley got the mechanism right. The fundamental insight that control through pleasure is more effective than control through pain. That a society drugged by comfort will never revolt. That the most dangerous tyranny is the one that feels like freedom. In 1985, the media theorist Neil Postman wrote a book called Amusing Ourselves to Death. In it, he argued that Orwell and Huxley had made opposite predictions, and that Huxley was winning. Postman wrote, what Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. He was right. Huxley was right, and the evidence is on the device in your hand right now. Orwell, Huxley, and Bradbury disagreed on almost everything. The method, the mechanism, the villain. But they agreed on one thing, that civilization does not collapse from the outside. It collapses from within, not because people are forced into submission, but because they stop caring enough to resist. The surveillance Orwell feared is here, but we welcomed it. We did not fight it. We reviewed it 5 stars and put it on our kitchen counter. We asked it to play music and tell us the weather while it listened to every word we said. The pleasure prison Huxley described is here, and we pay a monthly subscription for it. We binge until our eyes ache and call it relaxation. We medicate until we feel nothing and call it wellness. The death of the book that Bradbury mourned is here, and we scroll past it every day. The greatest library in human history is in your pocket. You use it to watch strangers argue. 3 authors, 3 warnings, all ignored. Not because they were wrong, but because they were right about something even darker than they imagined. That we would see the warnings, understand them, and choose to do nothing. That we would teach these books in schools, write essays about them, make films about them, and then walk out of the cinema and do exactly what the books warned us not to do. The books are still on the shelf. The question is whether anyone will open them.